Good evening, everyone. It is November 6th, 2023, and we have finished up with a really low volume session across all the indices. On the S&P, only 67 million contracts on this thing. Last time we did that, it was actually kind of a similar thing as we were reaching the highs of this balance area and churned around. Before that, what was this? Preceding the sell-off. So to me, what this is looking like is that we have not engaged any sort of major seller up here. Same thing on the NASDAQ, absolutely no volume coming in. On the Dow, just absolutely nothing coming in here. When was the last time we had a green session like that? Sometime in the summer. Or I guess that was the fall when we're churning here. Russell, no volume during this sell off. So to me, look, this wasn't too unexpected. We knew that today had no news. It's a Monday after an expansion week, and in general, I mentioned that I was looking for some sort of rotational trade. Monday, Tuesday, maybe Wednesday or Thursday would be able to pick a direction, and I'm still largely playing with that idea. Now, on the S&P, I do think that ultimately we run these highs, run some short stops, even in the event that we sell off further downwards. I do think that we run these highs. I just can't see these holding. The Nasdaq as well, same thing, and the Dow already has managed to do that. We managed to even run the prior week's high today. Russell struggling. I can't remember if I showed a chart or not, but the Russell showing a large amount of short covering. I believe the call to put ratio was something extremely high. So I mean, everyone has loaded in on one side, right? The shorts have covered. The call buyers are doing their thing as well. So you've got this kind of very lopsided, crowded environment to the long side on the Russell. Let's get into what I'm looking for tomorrow. See if this loads. There we go. Nice to see that. Let's start off with the ES right now. Get rid of all the indicators. Make this really clean for you guys. Now, I'd mentioned that before I wanted to get shorting this thing, I wanted to see some sort of structure building out above us. I wanted to see some sort of settlement highs getting above us. Let's see us start breaking value area lows. Let's see us open below, I don't know, a weekly open, a weekly close, anything like that, right? I wanted to see some sort of structural levels building above us, and that's what we've got now. Try and ignore all these value areas and stuff in the IB. Just pay attention to here over here. Here's the weekly close at 75, the weekly open 82s, yesterday's close, yesterday's overnight high, today's high, last week's high, and the settlement highs. And right now, what you can see is this little blue line, that's moving around. That was our value area low from the session at 43.76. And right now on the ES, here's the Globex open. We've had zero trade above that open at 43.80, pretty much the point of control from the RTH. Zero trade above there after a high close at 84s. So we've had this high close and then just a sell-off down lower, broken value area low, and now we're just diddling once again around the weekly close. That's similar to what we did during yesterday's overnight, during the Sunday overnight. Here it is. We were just finding support around that last week's close. Uh, in my opinion, this thing is starting to look like it's ready to sell off. Do I think it's going to be any sort of dramatic sell-off? No, not really. I still think that any sort of sell-off is a buyable dip opportunity. And until we really start to get more structure above us, let's start to see things like settlement lows getting above us. Let's see a settlement open be above us when we open, right? Maybe that happens on Wednesday, maybe it's Thursday, but until we get that, until we really build some structure and volume above us, showing evidence of distribution or that the bulls are not really getting anywhere as we hold price up, that's when I'll have a heavier short bias. But currently, the way I'm looking at this is, look, if we're able to open below last week's close at 43.75, that's also the IB low from today's RTH. That's pretty much a value area low. That's pretty much yesterday's overnight low. If we're able to open below this kind of 75 to 74 area, that to me will likely signal a break of today's RTH lows and a move into the Friday lows here. Whether we catch a bid there or not, I'm not too sure. At that point, all the auctions will be pointing downwards. Look, I think if you're an order flow guy, maybe you can find the long, but I think the better trade, in my opinion, is to find the short in that scenario. In the scenario we do open below 75 or 74, to me the trade is short against last week's highs, against the overnight high, against the daily high of the RTH from today, from Monday, right? So that's how, now if we open instead above, if we start getting into, I don't know, an open above 82s, above the weekly open, settlement open, start trading above the close, yesterday's overnight high, all this sort of stuff, I'm going to be looking for us to pop the previous day's high, the prior week's high, and start getting into that, 4,400 plus sort of area. But just based on how Globex is trading right now, I am biased to the downside. Same thing on the Dow, trading value area low, this blue number again, 414. We're trading below that, no trade above the Globex open, roughly here, 133-ish. We're getting zero trade above there after a high close. We're trading below the IB low, below the value area low, well off the high of the day. And the NASDAQ, not too surprisingly, based off of today's action, which did, by the way, take out last week's high over here, the NASDAQ holding up the best, trading above the weekly open for the most part. So if I had to look at this thing for tomorrow, and I'll be setting out the opening range as is becoming a pattern, just to get an idea of which tickers are leading or lagging on the day. What I imagine we'll get is the NASDAQ leading to the upside and the ES and the Dow kind of crapping out. Same with the Rusty. I wouldn't be surprised if the Russell also takes a bit of a beating, which drags down the breadth, which drags down the ES. So, with all that said, let's get into the charts. If we trade up around here, kind of the close, last week's high, all that sort of stuff, I'm going to look for us to pop the what will be the previous day's high. This Monday high, I'll be looking for us to take that out. If instead we get below kind of the IB low, I'll be looking IB low, value area low, all that sort of crap. I'll be looking for us to take out that Monday RTH low, and I'll be expecting us to get into somewhere around here, somewhere around Friday's churn area. That's on the NASDAQ. On the SPOOs, go to the RTH here. I'm kind of thinking of that 43.80-ish spot, for whatever it's around here, 40.35-ish. I'm looking at this as kind of a pivot. If we get above there, if we get into, the close, if we start trading above today's open, all that sort of stuff, I'll be looking for us to take out last week's high and the RTH high here and get into kind of these 437s. That was where we had the primary resistance area during this multi-day balance, this kind of 437-ish area. Perhaps we get into last week's high. I don't know. But in general, I'd be looking to the long side. Now, if instead we break the lows, what happened to my little zone here? There we go. If instead we break last week's close, the IB low, all that sort of stuff, I'll be looking for us to flush this zone, get into today's low, and find some sort of bids probably around this big fat zone around Friday's open and Friday's low and all that. Dow. Where are you, Dow? Here we go. Similar story. Somewhere around here looks to be kind of a pivot. If we get above kind of the close and all that sort of stuff, I'll be looking for us to take out these highs. Otherwise, I'm looking for us to break down, get into yesterday's low, get into perhaps Friday's low. And I'm not well versed enough in the Dow to know if that holds. I imagine it will. Again, until we really get structure and volume building above us, I think you're going to have these very buy-on-dip scenarios that keep playing out. Anyway, that's 10 minutes. Hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. Updates at the open. Have a great night. Trade safe.